Hey there! Rockstar announces a massive extended look at GTA 6 with a twist. Tencent's attempt to compete with Grand Theft Auto falls flat on its face. Xbox and Sony keep making headlines, but not in a good way, and much, much more. Welcome back to the Force Feed. This is the first new episode in 7 years. It's been 7 years. Got a lot to catch up on, but let's start out with this week's gaming news. What is new? What's interesting? What have I been playing? And what can we look forward to? Let's dive in. Kicking things off, Grand Theft Auto 6 has a big reveal planned for later this month. On Thursday, October 27th at 3 p.m. Eastern, we will be getting an extended look at the game on Netflix. Yes, that's right. Netflix will be premiering a gaming preview. It's going to be exclusive on the platform for around 6 hours before the showcase then goes live on YouTube, which means 6 straight hours of Rockstar scrambling to take down any restreams, recordings, and uploaded videos of the event within that window, which will undoubtedly be spreading across the internet. This is, of course, going to happen. Best of luck to everyone involved trying to stop that and take that stuff down. Now, no doubt, Netflix, of course, paid buttloads of money for that 6-hour exclusivity window, which they intend to recoup in however many millions of new Netflix signups they get in the process. I do wonder if they're going to just offer a bunch of free trials where people have to sign up with their cards and hope they forget and don't cancel and get charged anyways. That's probably going to happen, right? Anyway, details on the event itself are limited. The 30-second teaser trailer was literally a splash screen of the game's logo with some music, an announcement of an announcement. Now, on the Netflix page detailing the event, it says, see an extended look at Grand Theft Auto 6, the next evolution in the groundbreaking Grand Theft Auto series. And then when you go down to more details, it says the show is slick, rousing, adventure, high octane, imaginative, cars, action, thriller, and apparently it's a movie. Okay. I'm assuming we're going to get a bunch of new gameplay here, maybe some teases of features and mechanics. Like, the phrase extended look to me sort of implies something like an overview video, like touching on a few key points, showing us some footage. I'm actually excited. I've not really been following much GTA 6 news up until this point, but seeing as there's going to be nothing else to play in November anyways, I'll likely have the time to play this. And hey, I already have a Netflix account, so you're not squeezing any extra money out of me, dudes. But yeah, I'll check it out. The exclusivity is kind of funny though, but it goes to show just how massive Grand Theft Auto is. Like, has Netflix ever done this for any other game before? Not that I've heard of. Although they have been getting more into gaming. There's literally a whole section of games you can play via Netflix. I noticed it a few weeks back. So yeah, GTA 6, biggest thing in gaming. Let's see more of it. Can't wait, dude. Over the past 6 years, Tencent has been working on a game that they hoped would be a direct competitor to Grand Theft Auto called The Last Sentinel. Described as a narrative-focused open-world action game set decades from now in a reconstructed Tokyo, this was initially revealed back in December 2023 with a 2-minute trailer. Entirely cinematic, there was no gameplay here, but it did showcase some characters, the environment, the tone of the game. I think it seemed neat enough. Well, since that announcement, they've been fairly quiet, releasing but a handful of short behind-the-scenes videos on their YouTube channel. Unfortunately, though, it looks like the game was headed in a direction they aren't happy with, as just last week they laid off a bunch of staff and said that the game would be shifting direction dramatically. The studio making the game, Lightspeed LA, said in their official statement that it would be shifting the creative and development direction of The Last Sentinel to deliver the experience players expect. So reportedly what happened here is they've been working on the game, and then internal testing over the past couple of years just continuously came back negative. At this point, after 6 years in development and hundreds of millions of dollars spent, Tencent more or less is looking to pull the plug, at least on what their initial vision was. Now, there are some rumors going around that the game may end up just being outright canceled, although as of yet, that's not the official public statement, so I'm sure we will learn more in the coming months. Xbox is back in the news, this time for another price hike of their hardware. They announced some time ago that due to the global shortage of memory and storage and the rising cost, it's that much more expensive for them to manufacture their boxes, and that cost is being passed on to consumers. We now know exactly what this means, with some increases as high as 33% to what they were just prior in the year. So in Europe, the Series S is going from 400 euro to 600 euro, the Series X climbing from 600 euro to 800 euro. Similar increases are also happening here in the UK. The latest announcement that comes after the price increase that we learned about in the States, and that was the Series S one from $450 to $600 and the X from $650 to $800. And the truth is, this likely isn't going to be the end of it either. Like, we may continue to see some price hikes if the price of all these components continue to rise. I do want to say on this topic, as dire as these price hikes seem, as they are, I do want to shed a potential silver lining here when it comes to the rising cost of hardware. What I hope becomes the outcome is that all of the gaming hardware, it's getting more expensive. It's incredibly expensive at the moment. And as a result, no doubt that less and less people are going to be able to afford top of the line stuff, of course. So my hope here is that this results in more games being tailored to mid and lower end systems, the hardware that people have currently or that they can afford if they're buying new stuff, be that in the PC or the console space, because that's going to be where a larger and larger percentage of the user base is able to play in the coming years. So better optimization across a larger swath of hardware power levels. That's the hope. If gaming companies, especially in the AAA space, don't consider this, then what I expect the result's going to be is just people continuing to play these older games, the games that they're already playing nonstop, continue to play Fortnite, continue to play Minecraft, continue to play CS, Counter-Strike, you know what I mean? Because they can't run reasonably the higher end games that are trying to push crazy fidelity levels unless they're optimized for those systems that people do have. Yeah, that's kind of my hope, if anything comes of this. Now, in more positive Xbox news, it looks like their upcoming next-gen hardware, in the next couple of years, whenever that comes out, is going to include support for Xbox 360 games. What's more is that they're also planning to release those games on PC as well. This reporting comes out of The Verge, who received a leaked document sent to developers of multiple 360 titles. In the document, it claims that devs will retain control over the game's price and whether it's available on Game Pass, and that the plan is to have a gradual rollout across next-gen devices between 2027 and 2028. This kind of backwards compatible support is cool to see, even more though, as someone who's primarily a PC gamer, getting a bunch of 360 games on the computer sounds awesome. I'm here for it, dude. As you may have heard and seen over the past few weeks, Sony's online reputation has been in free fall following the announcement that come 2028, they're going to be going entirely digital, or in other words, no longer releasing physical copies of their games.
You've served your purpose. You may die now.
The response to this was swift and harsh from online communities, especially collectors, and people who enjoy having physical goods, having a thing of the thing that they purchased. Despite the ever-growing trend of more people purchasing digital over physical, there's clearly still a large vocal community who prefer the latter. And I get it, there was a time where physical was the only way I would have been able to play most games, like going to GameStop, swapping something that I beat for $2 to $3 credit and then covering the rest. That is how I acquired and played games for a bulk of my years, really. Not that GameStop is much of an option for anyone anymore, but there is clearly still a market for secondhand games, and for some people, it's literally the only way they can play games. So yeah, Sony said no more physical. The internet collectively said, screw you, we don't care if most people are buying digital, we still want physical as an option. Now, in the time since, Sony has continued to double, triple, and quadruple down. It seems that they have no intention of reversing course. In fact, I just saw this. Apparently, PS5 consoles that are being sold at the moment have this massive notice on the box that says, from January 2028, newly released games on PlayStation will be available for purchase on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital format only. They are committed, come hell or high water. Now, personally, for starters, fully in support of anyone who wants to own physical media and have that be the main way they purchase games. I will say though, as for myself, I've not bought a physical game in like well over a decade. I think it's been at least 15 years. In fact, the last physical game I remember buying was Skyrim when it initially came out. Over the years, after like so many moves, I've continuously shed physical goods. I gave all of my Magic cards to a bunch of my friends. I just play with them whenever we hang out. All of the gaming collectibles I've ever acquired, like figurines, cases, and any collector's edition stuff, I've donated. I mean, hell, I even have given most of the clothes that I don't wear on a regular basis to the Salvation Army. I don't look to impose this on anyone. I'm just saying for me, like the fewer goods and stuff junking up my house and taking up space on my shelf or in the closet, the better. I still obviously have stuff that I enjoy, right? But in general, I don't really have desire for stacks of plastic cases and discs. But that said, I think the bigger picture here isn't whether or not I want to have physical goods. I'm not trying to fucking convert you or something to my crazy lifestyle. But it's more so, I think the bigger picture here is, you know, people want to own what they buy, right? And I care less about the physical goods themselves, obviously, but I do care more about actually owning what we spend our money on. So physical aside, like if we want to keep our games and have control over it and being able to revisit them and having the option to, that's the bigger picture. Less so about the physical side of it, but more about like digital ownership. And I think that's what we should ideally be pushing towards. And I hope that's what happens. I mean, how is Stop Killing Games going, right? Is it going all right? I think it's going. Something's happening from last I saw. Speaking of things you don't own, I got some new MMO news I want to go over for you guys. In just a couple of weeks, Stars Reach will be entering Steam Early Access. This is a sci-fi sandbox MMO from Playable Worlds, a studio created by Raf Koster and David Gorgeson. Now, Koster notably was the lead designer of Ultima Online and the creative director behind Star Wars Galaxy, while Gorgeson directed PlanetSide, Tribes 2, and ran EverQuest for a handful of years. Their upcoming game looks to bring the sandbox back to MMORPGs. Lots of world interaction, discovering planets, transforming the environment, building settlements, and tons of player-driven content. According to their Steam page, Stars Reach is an ambitious MMO in the spirit of classic player-driven games, built atop a groundbreaking simulation that models real-world behavior. Rivers flow and flood, forests burn naturally, and mining in caves can be hazardous without proper ceiling supports. Other features include multiple skill paths to master. You can play as like a ranger, trailblazer, criminal, architect, and much more. Tons of different weapons and playstyles you can create. Lots of community-driven activities, or you can be a hermit in the woods if you want. And a full player-driven economy where you can become a crafting master and set up trade routes with players across the galaxy. Some pretty neat ideas here. The game's visuals are kind of hit or miss from what I've seen, but as far as I know, they still have a ways to go before 1.0. I'm hoping this turns out well because, yeah, it's got some cool concepts behind it. As you may have seen, I spent a bunch of time recently revisiting the Elder Scrolls Online, checking out some of the recent updates, leveling a new character, trying content that I hadn't seen yet. I did make a video going over all of this, but overall, I had a great time once again with the game. It remains one of my top 5 ongoing MMOs to play. Like, I totally recommend it. However, with the recent Microsoft layoffs, ZeniMax Online Studios, the developer, got totally clobbered, losing about half of their staff. And as a result, their planned content release schedule for the coming year has obviously shifted, and now we have more details. Specifically, a few things that were slated for 2026, including the new trial, a class refresh, and the update 52. Those have been pushed into 2027. The goal here is, quote, giving our teams the runway they need to do things right. Some of our upcoming additions, like the Class and Combat Refresh and our new trial, are highly complex, and we want to ensure that they hit the mark before we put them in your hands, which I think is a good thing. The alternative being they rush it out and people complain that it sucks and feels unfinished because it sucks and it was unfinished. So yeah, I'd rather wait a couple months for them to get it right as well. They lost half their staff. I understand. There's still plenty coming in 2026. Update 51 launches on September 28th, which will include a new challenge, the Nowhere Vault, a new game system with rumors, and some player experience improvements like achievement pinning, customizable HUD, hybridization, antiquities improvements, and a bunch of quality of life updates. And then on October 21st, they are launching Season 2 with solo dungeons. The Greymoor chapter and Markarth DLC will become free for everybody. New Golden Pursuits to highlight Skyrim, and the improved Tamriel Tome. And again, they've lost half of their staff. A delay in some of their planned 2026 content totally makes sense. I prefer they get it right and don't release it half-baked because they have half the manpower. Chrono Odyssey looks like we now have a official release window for this game. This is coming out of Kakao Games earnings call, where they said the game will be releasing in the second quarter of 2027. The co-CEO told investors there will be no more delays and that they anticipate the release to happen between April and June. More information will be made publicly available before the end of 2026. Now, if this doesn't happen later this month at Gamescom, I suspect maybe around the Game Awards in December is when we'll hear more. The last time I played, it was a technical disaster, bugs, glitches, and just not working right in a lot of ways. But there were some neat ideas, and combat was actually decent, and I thought the world was cool. The devs have been super responsive to all of the critical feedback, and we will see if they've made the necessary improvements. All right, so let's move on to some of the games I've been playing recently. There's some stuff in here I think you should be aware of. Sephiria. I had literally never heard of this game, but last Tuesday I was putzing around on SteamDB and saw it had a ton of players, so I was like, okay, let's check this out. Booted up a couple of YouTube videos, and after a few minutes, I immediately bought it. It's awesome, dude. If you are into top-down action combat roguelites, this seems very well made. I played for about 10 hours thus far and have had a great time. Lots of interesting build variety, some cool weapon choices, combat feels solid, and the more I've progressed, the more challenging and fun it's become, unlocking harder modes, more over-the-top builds to play with. It's also got this really interesting inventory system. So as you play, you get these items that grant various powers in the run, and then other items that will add levels to adjacent tiles, but oftentimes in exchange of decreasing levels in other tiles. So part of the game is trying to arrange your inventory in a way to maximize the number of plus levels you get for your best stuff. It's pretty neat. Also, the game costs less than the price of a McDonald's hamburger right now. It's $9 at the moment. I can see why this thing has overwhelmingly positive rating on Steam. It's really good. Also, there is a demo available as well on the Steam page, so you can just give it a look and decide if it's something you're interested in purchasing, which I love it, man. Bring back demos for games, especially the good ones. I also think there's like a clear level of confidence on display here. When your game releases, to still have a free demo available, it's like a Chad move, as they say. You're like, yeah, man, try out our game. We think you'll probably like it. And yeah, I myself think it's solid. Really, really enjoyed it. I've also continued to play a bunch of Mistfall Hunter. I did a video last week going over kind of the basics of the game, sort of providing an overview. I won't rehash all of that here, but the TLDR is this is a third-person PvPvE extraction ARPG. It's got Souls-style combat, meaning lots of animation priority, committing to attacks, in a dark fantasy world that actually also looks to pull a lot from Elden Ring, and then you've got the entire extraction loop on top. You load into the map, you go around killing basic PvE enemies, collecting loot from them as well as chest, and then taking on larger bosses with some pretty cool fights here. And then you try to survive when you inevitably get jumped by other players, or alternatively, you do the jumping and it's full drop loot with the exception of anything in your safe pocket. You get the gist, right? The game, its gameplay, its system, lots of great stuff there. Probably my biggest gripe is even though it's not a free-to-play game, it has a very free-to-play feeling menu system with all these currencies trackers and the cash shop with tons of stuff you can buy for a lot of money. Don't love that stuff, but have also been able to ignore it and just enjoy playing the game. It does help as well that in pretty much every extraction game I play, my preference is to do low gear runs. I like going in with like basic level items, just collecting what I can and getting out. I tend to enjoy that more than the crazy high-end lobby metas where they're just too sweaty for me. Everyone's going crazy. In every single extraction game, I play the low gear meta, and I vastly prefer it. Oh, and also, they just need to let solo people queue for the second map. Come on, guys. It's a stupid restriction. Don't. But that stuff aside, I'd say if you're looking for a new extraction game, I think this is pretty well put together. It's been fun, minus some annoyances. All right, this next game isn't even out yet, but I've played a handful of hours of the demo for Guildrun. If you've ever played auto battlers like Teamfight Tactics or Dota Underlords, this is a new spin on that formula. You start out by picking from one of 3 random characters, and then you battle your way through enemies, collecting new characters and loot along the way. The entire concept is like you're building up your guild, a roster of characters that you take with you into dungeon runs, clearing through rooms of basic enemies, elites, and then taking on a final boss battle at the end. Characters come in a variety of archetypes, essentially filling the holy trinity roles of tanks, healers, and damage dealers, and then there's all sorts of stats, affinities, and scaling to consider as you pick up items that are used to enhance your characters. Every room you enter, you start off like you check the opposition, see what they can do, and then you position your team into what you think is the best arrangement. You click go, and they fight. It's simple on a mechanical level as the fighting happens without any inputs, but deep and interesting on a strategic level, which is where these sort of games shine. And as crazy as it might sound, I'm actually hoping for a mobile version of the game. Dota Underlords, another one of those auto battlers, is one of my favorite mobile games, one of the few that I've ever really gone into, and I think Guildrun would be a good fit here as well. Demo still available on Steam. They've even been releasing patches for the demo because there are still so many people playing it. Beyond what I've been playing, got a couple of other new releases this week. Beast of Reincarnation launched to mixed reviews, currently sitting at a 60% user rating on Steam, and critic reviews averaging around a 76. The overall reception seems to be, it's okay, like decent action combat, but poor enemy variety and bosses, cool setting but uninteresting story, and a host of visual performance and user experience issues. Like, the game's not awful, but nor is it amazing. Not gotten around to playing this myself, and frankly, I'm not sure if I will. Pretty busy with other games at the moment, but maybe later down the road after a few updates. Now, Game Freak has already come out with announced plans, improvements. Shortly after release, they posted a tweet saying, "We take your feedback to heart and are currently planning a series of continuous updates. New patch within the next week. We'll have camera adjustments, increased text size, story pacing improvements, changing the default setting from cinematic to performance, and other bug fixes." Not sure if this addresses all of the game's biggest issues, but we will see. Big Walk came out swinging. This thing has been a hit amongst gamers who enjoy co-op exploration and puzzle solving with some funny shenanigans in between. The user rating is very positive at 90% currently. Critic rating similarly quite high, averaging around a 90. And the overall sentiment has been very good. And I think this looks amazing. I guess the biggest hurdle I see is convincing enough friends to spend the $15 to $20 each for all of you to play together. It's not expensive per se, but these games that rely on a larger group of people playing together for the ideal experience, it can be tough to organize, right? It's a game that I would love to play. I've really just not wrangled enough people together who want to purchase it as of yet. Seems worth it though if you have the crew and you're interested. Multiplayer beta for Gears of War E-Day. It's happening over this weekend and it looks great. Now, as of this recording, I'm hoping to jump in before the weekend ends, although it may be more likely that I check it out next week when it's the open beta, because this weekend you have to pre-order, I think, like the $90 edition to get in, which I don't know. But I'll check it out for sure. The beta is going to include Horde Siege, invasion events, and competitive versus mode. And I've watched a bit of gameplay and think it's looking pretty good. Like, I'm genuinely excited to jump into this one. I'm sure I'll give you an update in next week's episode. Speaking next week, a few games coming out that you should keep your eye on. Pax Autocratica. This is a satirical colony sim FPS roguelite hybrid where you build a prosperous totalitarian state, enforce policies, and lead troops into first-person battles that grow from skirmishes to large-scale mechanized war. The gameplay looks legitimately interesting. The premise is kind of funny. I don't know, seems like it could be neat. Pax Autocratica comes to Steam Early Access on August 10th, and it has a demo as well. Agent 64, it's like a spiritual successor to Goldeneye for the N64. The game features 14-mission campaign where you traverse skyscrapers, nightclubs, museums, catacombs, and snow bases. It's got solo and split screen with online co-op, 3 difficulty levels, along with Paradox mode that has 70 modifiers. And then there's PvP in the arena mode. I mean, again, it's literally just like a reimagined version of the Goldeneye for the N64. Kind of cool, man. Coming out on August 4th to PC via Steam. This also has a demo. Hell Let Loose Vietnam. This is the massive scale competitive online multiplayer FPS. Like, if you ever wanted to play a game like Battlefield that wasn't Battlefield, it seems like this is going to be it. Mainly focus on large team battles with 50 versus 50 multiplayer lobbies taking place across 6 massive maps. You can play as the North Vietnamese Army or the US Armed Forces. Multiple game modes, including offensive warfare and more. Emergent gameplay elements encouraging the use of chain of command to build teamwork and deploy a unique set of tactics and weapons for each battle. There's 17 battle roles that you can take on across the 6 battlefield units, and tons of vehicles like helicopters and patrol boats. Hell Let Loose Vietnam launches on August 13th for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And then, yes, once more, next weekend we do have the open beta for Gears of War E-Day. If you want to play it but don't want to spend the pre-order money, this will be happening from August 13th to the 17th. Alrighty, well, thank you for watching the inaugural return of the Force Feed. See you next week. We'll see if anybody watches this. I might keep it going, though. I think that's it. I don't know if I forgot anything. Was there something else I was supposed to say? Once again, this has been Force, and you have just been force-fed. No, I think that's everything. All right, see you guys later.